Welcome to Customs and Courtesies, the show that brings military etiquette and the history behind our customs to you. I'm your host, Sergeant First Class Wellington Stirrup. In today's episode, I will discuss the history behind military customs and courtesies, where many of us historians debate the origin or where at least they evolved from, why they're important, what is their significance, its ties to etiquette, and should they change to fit with the times? Well, I'll give you my thoughts, and you can decide. Military customs and courtesies have a rich history, often evolving from ancient traditions rooted in respect, discipline, and hierarchy. They're important because they serve as a visible display of discipline, unity, and mutual respect among military members. These customs also foster a sense of tradition and continuity within the military community. Their significance extends beyond mere etiquette. They reinforce military values, promote cohesion, and contribute to operational effectiveness. While some customs may adapt to modern contexts, their core principles remain relevant. However, any changes should be carefully considered to ensure they maintain their essence of respect and discipline. Overall, military customs and courtesies embody the ethos of the armed forces and uphold the professionalism expected of its members. Now, with that being said, you're probably wondering and asking, where did these originate? So let's talk about it. Let's first talk about the salute. The history of the salute dates back centuries and has various origins. One theory suggests that it originated as a gesture of trust in ancient times, where individuals would raise their right hand, the dominant one, to show that they were not holding a weapon, indicating peaceful intentions. Another theory traces the salute to the medieval knights, who would lift their helmet visors to reveal their faces as a sign of respect and recognition. This gesture evolved into the hand salute seen in modern military practice. In naval tradition, it is believed that sailors would raise their right hand, the same as their sword arm, to their forehead in recognition of the officers on deck, as a sign of respect and readiness to obey orders. Over time, the salute became formalized as a symbol of respect, courtesy, and recognition of rank within military organizations worldwide. Today, the salute remains a fundamental aspect of military culture, symbolizing discipline, professionalism, and adherence to tradition. So with that being said, let's talk about why military customs and courtesies are important. Military customs and courtesies are important for several reasons: discipline and respect. They instill discipline by requiring constant behavior, and respect for authority, rank, and tradition. This fosters a culture of mutual respect among service members. Unity and cohesion are what binds those customs and courtesies, because they promote unity and cohesion within military units. By adhering to shared practices, service members develop a sense of belonging and teamwork. Consistent customs and courtesies contribute to the operational effectiveness by ensuring clear communication, hierarchy, and chain of command. This is crucial for mission success in maintaining order in high-stress situations. Which brings us to tradition and heritage. Many customs have historical significance, connecting service members to traditions and heritage of their respective branches and military as a whole. They serve as a link between past and present generations of military personnel. I couldn't begin to tell you the countless times that I've talked to old retirees and veterans. I'm talking people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that we still share some sort of bond, even though they're generations removed from my age, all because of tradition and heritage, knowing that I'm doing the same thing that they had done, knowing that they did the same things that I did. The times might have changed, but with these traditions and heritage, those haven't changed. Those are the things that keep us all binded to each other. That's where you get the term the band of brothers. Now, let's move on to professionalism. Observing these customs and courtesies demonstrates professionalism and commitment to military values. It reflects positively on the individual, the unit, and the armed forces as a whole. Overall, military customs and courtesies play a vital role in shaping the culture, identity, and effectiveness of military organizations, emphasizing discipline, respect, and ding ding ding, tradition. So what is the significance of military customs and courtesies? You might be wondering that, and we're going to dive into it. The significance of military customs and courtesies lies in their role as the foundational elements of military culture and professionalism. Now, if you're wondering, or thinking, I'm hearing a bit of repetitive themes here. Here's why. It's because all of these things tie into each other, right? And they are significant. Symbolism of discipline and respect are customs and courtesies that symbolize the discipline and respect that are fundamental to military service. They reinforce the hierarchical structure of the military and the importance of following orders and respecting authority. Unity and cohesion. These customs foster unity and cohesion among service members by providing shared rituals and practices that help create a sense of belonging and camaraderie within the military and military units. And again, that leads back to tradition and heritage. Many military customs have deep historical roots and are steeped in tradition. They connect service members to the rich heritage of their respective branches and the military as a whole, promoting a sense of continuity and pride in the organization's history. I already mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention it again, and I'm going to go one step further. You can even look at different countries, right, that have fought wars alongside each other in units that have been around for centuries, and they have a shared bond. Or you might hear the term, and it's kind of rare, but you might hear the term bonds of friendship, right? So certain units out there, especially in the United States military, have a bond of friendship with other allied partner units. For instance, 2CR has a bond, or 2nd Cavalry Regiment, has a bond of friendship with an Australian Cavalry Regiment. The United States Military Police Corps of the Army has a bond of friendship with the British Army's Police Corps, or Military Police Corps. These are, in a sense, kind of like friendly units. I don't want to say sister units because that typically responds to a unit within your regiment that you also are a part of. Not necessarily like a fellow company, but if you are in the same regiment, you would be like a sister unit. So, for example, you have 1st Infantry 23rd Infantry Regiment, or 1st Battalion 23rd Infantry Regiment, and they have sister units. They have 223, so 2nd Battalion 23rd Infantry Regiment, and 423 4th Battalion 23rd Infantry Regiment. Those would be sister units. Those aren't a bond of friendship or an alliance, quote unquote, right? So the bonds of friendship are more between units that will train together on a consistent basis or share the same customs, right? Uh, like as I mentioned, 2nd Cavalry Regiment is has a bond of friendship and is aligned with, I want to say it's the 3rd Cavalry Regiment in the Australian Defence Force. So, you have those things that bond those traditions and that heritage that bond those two units together. And when it comes to professionalism, you're adhering to those customs and the courtesies, and it is a hallmark of professionalism in the military. It demonstrates an individual's commitment to upholding the standards and values of the armed forces, both off and on duty. And this is something that nowadays you can kind of see fading. And I don't want to say that in like a negative way, but it's one of the reasons why it has kind of driven me to create this, because countless times I have talked with fellow soldiers, peers, and subordinates who have expressed to me that they were impressed with the fact that I just talk to people as if they are people and I don't necessarily see rank. And that is because I like to live by the golden rule: treat others how you would like to be treated, because that is just professional and that's just courteous. It's proper etiquette. You treat people how you want to be treated. And if you look into the regulation on salutes, honors, and courtesies, it tells you right there: treat your soldiers, whether they're your peers, your seniors, your subordinates, it does not matter. You treat them in a professional manner. You render salutes to those above you, they render one back. It's proper etiquette. It's proper protocol. It's proper courtesies. So when people tell me that I'm the type of person that doesn't necessarily see rank and I just treat people like people, I just respond back, it's because I like to live by the golden rule. When in reality, it's because I want to display proper etiquette and professionalism, both off and on duty. I'm one of those people who will still refer to people who I served with as sir, ma'am, sergeant, what have you. And they're out of the military. And they'll be like, hey, dude, you don't need to call me that anymore. I'd be like, roger that, sir. Like, you're still, sir to me, because that is just, I don't know, that is just me. I'm probably weird like that. I know there are others out there, but that's just me. But to me, that just shows, my respect towards them, our time together, and professionalism. So even if I'm off duty, I still refer to people by their rank because that's their rank. They've earned it. So let's talk about operational effectiveness. By establishing clear protocols for communication, interaction, and respect within the military hierarchy, customs and courtesies contribute to operational effectiveness. They help maintain order, discipline, and cohesion in high stress and demanding situations. In summary, military customs and courtesies are significant because they embody the values, traditions, and professionalism of the armed forces, while also promoting unity, discipline, and operational effectiveness amongst service members. So what does all of this have to do with etiquette and military customs and courtesies? I kind of feel like we've already hit on that, but I'm going to answer that because I'm pretty sure some people out there are like, okay, well, where's the etiquette portion of this? And we're going to dive into that right now. So what this all has to do with etiquette and its ties to military customs and courtesies is, between etiquette and military customs and courtesies, there are strong and interconnected bonds. Both etiquette and military customs emphasize norms of behavior, respect, and courtesy, right? Golden rule. But they do so within different contexts. Respect and courtesy, both of these are forms of etiquette and military customs. and they stress the importance of showing respect and courtesy to others. In civilian etiquette, this may involve using polite language, holding doors open for others, or offering a handshake. Now, I know in today's culture, where I'm from in America, um, you know, I was taught you hold door open for people. You open a car door for your significant other. Um, but my parents kind of also stressed, and some people, let me back up. Some people will call that chivalry. Again, going back to knights and all of that. But it's just proper etiquette. And I think where people lose sight of this is people will go out of their way, right? Or guys will go out of their way to hold the door open for, women to just try to be courteous, or to, they're into that female, or they're dating them, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. For me, it's something that I don't care if you're a guy, I don't care if you're a girl, I don't care if you are young, around my age, elderly, doesn't matter. If I am opening a door for myself and I see that you're coming up behind me, I'm going to hold the door open for you because it's just a nice thing to do, right? And I feel like this world could use more nice gestures. So to me, I feel like if you're going to open a door, hold the door open for other people. That's just what you do. So, you know, let's get back to it. I'm going on a tangent here. In the military, however, customs and courtesies dictate specific actions, such as saluting, so saluting your superiors, addressing people with the proper titles, and standing at attention during certain ceremonies or when you enter an officer's office, or if you're talking to an officer and you're an enlisted soldier, or that officer outranks you. The first thing you should do is just go to attention, and then they'll tell you to relax. Um, and there's one branch that does this the best. Now, I'm in the Army, obviously, Sergeant First Class, but the Marines, oh man, let me tell you, when it comes to good order and discipline and addressing people by their ranks and their title, Marines are on point. They will call you Staff Sergeant or Sergeant First Class, because I've worked with some and we have similar ranks, right? If I was in the Marine Corps, I'd be a gunnery sergeant. But they don't just call you sergeant, they use the full title, right? And it doesn't matter if you're an E1 or an E8, they use, or even an E9, they use the whole title, right? So, like, we have first sergeant and master sergeant, both E8, right? And in our regulation, it states you can call well, first, you're always going to call a first sergeant a first sergeant. Let's just get that out of the way. But you can call a master sergeant sergeant, right? Somebody can call me sergeant. You ask a Marine to do that, their head's going to explode. It's Sergeant First Class. It's Master Sergeant. And I always make it a point, right? Because I was talking about our regulations and stuff when it comes to, calling a Master Sergeant Sergeant. It states in there, the guidance states that you can refer to them as Sergeant, or you can refer to them as Master Sergeant. It's their preference. But I always go out of my way to call Master Sergeants Master Sergeant, because to me that just shows an extra bit of respect and an extra bit of professionalism. So, however, when it comes to other E7s like myself, I just call a sergeant. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But, even when I was a staff sergeant and, just a regular sergeant and E4 and below, that was just a rank that to me is like, that's just sergeant. But I feel like once you hit 8, it's something else. So I don't know. I'm weird. Again, I'm weird like that. Whatever. But you walk into a first sergeant's office, you're at parade rest. Like, that's just me. I go to parade rest. My first sergeant's like, dude, relax. And I'm like, Roger that, first sergeant. But let's get back on track. Um, so that leads me into hierarchy and protocol, right? So one of the things that if you're a person who's big on etiquette, you will know what the term protocol means, right? Protocol, etiquette, courtesy, civility, chivalry, they all kind of mean generally the same thing. But hierarchy and protocol is kind of what I was just going off of, right? Hierarchy, we know what that is. That is like a rank structure. So, you have hierarchy and protocol, which leads into etiquette, and it often includes guidelines for navigating social hierarchies and following protocol in various situations. Similarly, military customs establish a clear hierarchy of rank and protocol for interacting with superiors, peers, and your subordinates. Following these protocols is essential for maintaining order, discipline, and cohesion within military units. And as we go along on this journey, I will make an episode on protocol in social functions, protocol when you're out and about, just on everyday life, because those are things that I just find interesting. And even protocol on, you know, what to do on the civilian side of things versus what to do in the military side of things. So look forward to those. But getting back on track again, I'd have a tendency to get distracted. But getting back on track again, you know, when you're looking at this on maintaining that order, discipline, and cohesion within military units, it leads you into a formalized behavior. With both etiquette and military customs, it involves formalized patterns of behavior that are expected and respected within their respective contexts. That is a lot of ifs. But yeah, um, whether it's knowing when to stand or sit, how to address someone of higher rank, or the proper way to greet others, adherence to these customs demonstrates professionalism and respect for tradition, right? Knowing when you can remove your headgear, knowing, in what uniform do you need to have headgear on? If you're in a mess dress uniform at a certain hour of the night, you don't have to have headgear on. Ding. But not a lot of people have mess dress uniforms. That's mostly like your field grade officers and above, and some people who want to be fancy. But still, knowing the right protocol on what to do in those situations is something that will demonstrate your professionalism and respect for those traditions. Which leads us on to the symbolism and the traditions within all of this. And etiquette and military customs often involve symbolic gestures and traditions that convey deeper meanings. For example, the exchange of salutes in the military symbolize respect for rank and authority, while the etiquette of exchanging business cards in civilian settings may signify respect and professionalism. Now, it's been a while since I was a civilian, but even nowadays, whenever I'm out and about and I meet somebody or I go into a place of business and I want to remember who I talk to, I will ask them if they have a business card. That is just me. I'm old, I guess. I don't know. Or I'll ask if, for their name, contact information. But usually business card. So overall, while etiquette and military customs and courtesies have distinct contexts and applications, they share fundamental principles of respect and courtesy, hierarchy, and tradition. And both of these serve to establish norms of behavior that contribute to smooth interactions, mutual respect, and a sense of professionalism within their respective environments. So, after listening to all of that, you have to ask yourself, should military customs and courtesies change with the times? And I would say that while some aspects of military customs and courtesies may adapt to changing times, the core principles and values that they represent should remain intact. Like, for instance, check out some of these considerations, like of their relevance, right? And remember that it's important to assess whether the certain customs are still relevant and serve their intended purpose in contemporary military operations. If a custom no longer contributes to discipline, cohesion, or effectiveness, it may be appropriate to reconsider, to modify it. These are changing times, and a lot of these customs that we have are things that were centuries in the making, right? They've been refined and reformed over decades and centuries. Because we have gotten, and when I say we, I'm talking about the US military, but even our partners, even our allied partners, like Five Eye partners, NATO allies, they all have their own customs and courtesies. They all have their own traditions on how they do things. And I guarantee that throughout the decades, some of them have changed. But we get a lot of our customs and courtesies from the UK and a bit of it from Germany. Go back to the Revolutionary War and you'll understand why. And maybe we can do a show on that. But as time changes, and especially nowadays, as a lot of customs change rapidly, it's important to realize that some of these things that we do may need to change. They don't necessarily have to go away, but they may need to change. And so when you look at it, it needs to be something that is a societal norm. So as societal norms evolve, the military should ensure that its customs and courtesies are inclusive and respectful of diversity. And this may involve reevaluating language, traditions, or practices to ensure that they do not inadvertently exclude or marginalize certain groups. Now, I say that because obviously times have changed, and when you're talking about etiquette, again, the treatment of people, it's a good thing to be inclusive because that shows that you have the empathy and the understanding that, hey, just because we've done it like this for hundreds of years doesn't mean that we still need to do it like this or that we can't change it to include the new people that are now here. So it's always good to be inclusive. An inclusive force is a stronger force. Your operational needs, when you talk about that in the changing of customs and courtesies, should support operational needs and mission effectiveness. I mean, what good is a military if it's not effective? And if changes are proposed, they should be carefully evaluated to ensure they do not compromise discipline, hierarchy, or communication within military units. Those three things right there are the foundation: discipline, hierarchy, and communication. Without those three things, again, what good is the military? It's no good. So the preservation of tradition. While the adaptation is necessary in some cases, it's also important to preserve the rich traditions and heritage associated with military customs. Any changes that should be made thoughtfully with an understanding of the historical significance and symbolism behind these customs. So, leads me on to consultation and training, right? So when we talk about these changes, we have to take in consideration that any proposed changes to military customs and courtesies should involve consultation with service members and leaders, as well as appropriate training to ensure understanding and adherence to new protocols. This is a standard practice in the civilian world, and it should be a standard practice in the military as well. So, in summary, while some adaptation of military customs and courtesies may be warranted to reflect the changing times and societal norms, any changes should be approached with careful consideration of their impact on discipline, cohesion, inclusivity, and tradition within the armed forces. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you made it this far, please leave a 5-star review, and make sure to check out the Instagram page at Customs and Courtesies. Until next time, Sergeant Stay.